Imagine this, an old man walks into a small-town cafe, his clothes worn, his steps heavy, and not a single person gives him a second glance, except a kind waitress who notices his empty wallet and quietly pays for his coffee. What she didn't know was that this old man wasn't just anyone. He was a billionaire in disguise, searching for the one person who could see past wealth, and straight into the heart. What happened next changed her life forever. But before we dive into this touching story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel Gentle Words for more heartwarming stories that will move your soul. It was a rainy Tuesday morning, when Emily wiped the condensation off the diner's front window, the sound of droplets tapping gently against the glass blending with the low hum of chatter inside the cafe. She was only 23, a hard-working waitress who had been juggling 2 jobs ever since her mother fell ill and her younger brother dropped out of school to take care of her at home. Life for Emily was anything but easy, yet she wore her smile like armor, determined that no guest who walked into the little roadside diner would ever guess the weight she carried. To her, kindness wasn't something you gave when you had plenty. It was something you gave especially when you had little. Because she knew from her own life that even the smallest gestures could mean the world. That morning, as she balanced coffee mugs on a tray, she noticed an elderly man push the door open with a shaky hand. His clothes looked simple, a bit faded at the edges, and his shoes were worn as though they had walked many long miles. People barely glanced at him, some even looking away. But Emily noticed the tired droop of his shoulders and the way his eyes scanned the cafe like a stranger searching for a place to belong. She hurried over, offering him a smile as warm as the coffee she poured. "Good morning, sir," she said, her voice gentle. "Please, take a seat anywhere you like." He nodded, choosing a quiet corner by the window. His fingers trembled slightly as he reached for the menu, and Emily, with her trained eye, saw the hesitation in his movements. She had seen it before. The quiet shame of someone counting coins in their head, wondering if they could afford even the smallest order. When she came back, he cleared his throat softly and asked, almost apologetically, for just a cup of coffee. "Of course," she replied without missing a beat, but her heart tightened at the sight of him. She turned toward the counter, and without a second thought, she slipped her own few dollars from her apron pocket into the register, covering the cost of the coffee before anyone could notice. To Emily, it wasn't charity. It was dignity. It was ensuring that this man could sip his coffee without worry, without the sting of pity. She set the steaming cup before him, her smile bright as though he had ordered a feast, and for a fleeting moment, she saw something flicker in his eyes. Surprise, gratitude, and maybe even something deeper. What Emily did not know, what no one in that little diner could have guessed, was that this man was not the poor stranger he appeared to be. Beneath the plain clothes and the humble demeanor was Charles Whitmore, a billionaire who had built an empire from scratch and spent decades surrounded by people who only ever cared for his wealth. Now in the twilight of his years, he was tired of empty smiles and hollow promises, tired of being valued for his fortune rather than his heart. Disguised as an ordinary old man, he had set out on a quiet journey across small towns, searching, not for business deals or investments, but for something he had long given up on, finding a woman whose kindness was genuine, who could see the man, not the money. And in that diner, with the smell of fresh coffee in the air, and the sound of rain still pattering outside, Charles felt the faint stirrings of hope, when Emily leaned down and asked with real concern, "Would you like me to bring you a little something to eat, sir? On the house, maybe some toast to go with your coffee." His throat tightened. He declined softly, but the warmth in her gesture stayed with him. For the first time in years, Charles felt invisible in the best way. Not as a billionaire shielded by bodyguards and boardrooms, but as an ordinary man who mattered to someone simply because he existed. He sipped the coffee slowly, watching Emily as she hurried between tables, her kindness spilling effortlessly into every interaction, whether it was refilling a trucker's cup, kneeling down to hand a lollipop to a restless child, or offering an encouraging word to a tired mother. And though she had no idea, every smile she gave, every moment of thoughtfulness, was etching itself into Charles's heart like sunlight breaking through clouds. The next morning, Emily arrived at the diner with her hair still damp from the quick shower she had taken, her eyes tired but her spirit steady. She didn't expect to see the old man again, but when she walked through the swinging kitchen doors balancing a tray of fresh muffins, there he was, sitting at the same corner table, looking out the window as though he had been waiting for something. Or perhaps someone. A spark of warmth lit her tired face, and she hurried over, greeting him cheerfully. "Back again, sir. I'm glad. You must have liked the coffee after all." Charles, still dressed in his plain clothes, gave a small smile, one that carried a depth Emily didn't understand. "Yes," he replied softly, "but it wasn't just the coffee. It was the kindness." Emily blinked, surprised, then waved a hand lightly as though brushing away a compliment. "Oh, that's nothing, sir. Everyone deserves a bit of kindness, especially in the mornings." He studied her as she moved with her usual grace, her words unguarded, her smile genuine. She didn't know she was being tested in ways she couldn't imagine. Every gesture weighed, every choice noticed. Over the next week, Charles returned to the diner again and again. And though he never ordered more than coffee and perhaps a slice of toast, he and Emily began to talk. Their conversations were simple at first. About the weather, about the best pie on the menu. But slowly they deepened. He learned about her sick mother and her little brother, about how she had given up college dreams to support them, and how she still believed that one small act of goodness could change a person's day. She never once asked what he did for a living, never pried into who he was or what he owned, and to Charles, that was the most refreshing thing of all. One rainy afternoon, after the lunch light died down, Emily brought him a slice of pie on her own dime and slid it across the table. "Here," she said softly, "you look like you could use something sweet." Charles stared at the plate, his throat thick with unspoken emotion. For so many years, he had been surrounded by extravagance. Gala dinners, million-dollar wines, gold-plated silverware, but no banquet in his life had ever tasted as rich as this simple act of thoughtfulness. And in that moment, he realized with startling clarity that the woman he had been searching for, the one who could see the man before the money, might be right there in front of him, pouring coffee in a small, town diner, wearing tired shoes and the brightest smile he had ever seen.